This meeting of the City of Socorro City Council is set to begin. Gentlemen, please remove your hats, and everyone, please silence all electronic equipment. No disruptive behavior or outburst will be tolerated, and violators are subject to ejection and possible prosecution. La Junta del Concilio de la Ciudad de Socorro está por empezar. Caballeros, por favor de quitarse las cachuchas, sombreros y todos, favor de poner en silencio todo equipo de electrónico. No se va a tolerar ningún tipo de comportamiento perjudicial o revoltoso. A quien no siga estas reglas se le sacará y puede ser infraccionado.
It is now 6:03 p.m. This meeting is called to order. Item number 2, Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Item number 3, recognition to Escondrias Elementary School. Eileen Huerta. Fabian de Santiago. And Ms. Itzel de Santiago. Would you all rise, please? Item number 4, establishment of quorum.
Ruben Reyes,
Here.
Cesar Nevares.
Here.
Alejandro Garcia.
Here.
Mayor Ivy Avalos.
Here.
Rudy Cruz.
Here.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Here.
Mayor, we would also like to acknowledge the attendance of Texas House Representatives for District 79, Mr. Art Fierro.
Item number 5, proclamation for recognition of National Police Week, May 11th to May 17th, 2022.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A little loud. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dave Burton, Chief of Police. Every year at this time, there is an annual Police Week that's held in Washington, D.C. It's at the National Police Memorial, and it is designed to remember law enforcement officers who have died in the line of duty. To date, that is some 23,000 names that occupy that wall. Last year for us as a profession was a very difficult one. We suffered 453 in-duty deaths, which was up some 55% from the year before. And it's actually the highest level since 1930. So what we're asking for Council and the Mayor to do tonight is to issue a proclamation just in remembrance of law enforcement that have given their life in the line of duty.
Whereas National Police Week is an annual event that remembers all members of law enforcement who lost their lives in the line of duty. This year, the event runs from May 11th to May 17th, 2022. During this time, officers from across the country will gather at the National Police Memorial in Washington, D.C. to remember and pay their respects to fallen police officers. And whereas 2021 was a particularly hard year for America's law enforcement, according to preliminary data compiled by the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund, as of December 31st, 2021, 458 federal, state, tribal, and local law enforcement officers died in the line of duty in 2021. This is an increase of 55% from the 295 officers killed during the same period last year, and is the highest total line of duty officers deaths since 1930, when there were 312 fatalities. Whereas the Socorro Police Department wishes to honor the dedication, hard work, and sacrifice of police officers across the country. Please join us in remembering not only those officers that lost their lives in 2021, but of all 23,000 officers whose names appear on the walls at the memorial. Now, therefore, I, Mayor of the City of Socorro, proclaim National Police Week from May 11th through May 17th, 2022. Item number 6, public comment.
Mayor, we do have a speaker for this item, Joanna Roldan. Ms. Roldan, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Joanna. So I'm representing the area down where Socorro and San Eli meet on Socorro Road, like Earnest Road, Vista del Valle, Jolla del Valle, kind of like an area that gets neglected just because maybe it is right on the border, so it's almost like uncertain of who they belong to sometimes. I've lived in that Socorro area for nearly my entire life, minus the 10 years I was serving in the military. But I guess the thing I think about is every year that I came back to visit my family, yes, my family is still there, and yes, nothing changed, but I guess in a way that also was an issue. Nothing changed. There was never any street lights. It was always dark. I always knew where to avoid any potholes. I knew the streets because they never changed. And recently, we saw maybe like a little bit of pavement get fixed up and stuff like that, but there's a boom of houses that just grew behind my mom's house, and now there's cars speeding through the front of her residence. There's no sidewalks, there's no safety, and that community's a lot of older people who have been there most of their lives. And knowing that my mom's still there and knowing that my mom likes to walk, it makes me sad that there's no safety for her. And I would really love to see at least street lights, at least maybe an extra speed bump or two, maybe one more stop sign. People might still disregard it because it is kind of an enclosed area, but it could help. Any little bit helps, and that's really what I came here for. I've never come to one of these, but I figure, I'm getting to be near 40, and I need to do something. I need to say something, and I'm gonna have kids soon, and I want to know that people will speak out, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No more speakers, Mayor.
Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to move item 24 and 26 up.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia,
Yes.
Rudy Cruz,
Yes.
and Ivan Colombia Lopes.
Yes.
Item number 24, discussion and action to approve Resolution 699 for Revive Medical, Pllc, as another licensed emergency medical services provider operating in the city of Socorro.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item that I put on the agenda for this afternoon's meeting was just for the discussion and action to approve a resolution 699 to allow Revive Medical I believe at the last meeting, we got to hear a little bit about the services that they provide. And just to update the council and the residents of Socorro, I'm not too sure as to how many years, but years back, should an ambulatory company want to seek the approval from a municipality to engage in operation in their city, they wouldn't have to require a letter of support as they're requesting today. I know the county of El Paso and other municipalities in the surrounding area have already provided Revive Medical with a supporting document just for them to engage in services. I want to keep the council and residents aware that we currently have an active contract with Elite, and that's still going to continue. The letter of support that Revive seeking today is just is required by the state of Texas now for them to be able to operate. They mainly operate with the Ventanas adult, what would you call it?
Convalescent home?
There you go. Nursing, yes, the nursing home. But in order for them to continue to provide services, they do need this letter of support from our city. That's what I'm bringing here today. If Revive wants to approach the podium here and provide any information that this council may be seeking, or have any questions that this council may have for you all.
He's not signed up.
I'm sorry.
He's not signed up to speak.
Okay, I'm sorry.
we don't
Then
have
I
a
just
motion either.
okay. My apologies.
And may we have a motion, please? Resolution.
Do we need a motion? Okay,
To approve the resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I have questions.
There is no second.
No second.
Do we have a motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss.
Second.
Mr. Nevares, you had a question?
Well, I think we need some additional information from this group. I've gotten several calls, but I will not discuss those here. I would provide you guys some feedback, and then maybe we can reconsider and move this to another week or next meeting, if possible. Yeah, so my suggestion would be to table it for now till our next council meeting.
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Campion is one of our speakers for this item. Mr. Campion?
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. I had some prepared remarks, but seeing that there's going to be additional discussion to it, I'll alter my comments this evening and simply state that certainly a decision to admit another EMS provider into an existing system is something that should be considered much like a public utility would, with careful input, careful study, and expert opinions on the matter. I do not profess to be an expert by any stretch of the imagination. However, certainly we'd be willing to provide our input and perspective in any discussions that you partake as you deliberate on this decision. And that'll conclude my comments unless there's any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Yes.
And Ivan Colombia Lobos?
Yes. Item number 26, discussion and action to approve the installation of streetlights for Earnest Road, La Jolla del Valle, and Vita del Valle.
Motion to approve.
Second.
speaker, we have the lady that, but did you have an introduction? I wanted her to speak first. I think her introduction, what she introduced was much better.
We
Did you
usually
sign
have a
up to speak?
discussion before,
Yes.
and we take the question right before after the discussion.
Okay, alrighty then. So, thank you for your motion. I've been dealing with this area for about 2 years. I finally brought it to Mrs. Rodarte. She sent out, was it the El Paso Electric Company?
Yes, can you talk into,
I'm sorry.
so they can hear you?
The El Paso Electric Company went out there. There's about 48 properties in that area and only 2 streetlights. And there's another 2 streetlights that the residents have on their property, but they're not always turned on. They don't have to turn them on. So that's what we're asking, is that we finally give them the proper lighting in that neighborhood. And I believe sorry, it's really hard for me to see. The proposed lights are the green, right? Is that correct?
No. So if you see the map in front of you, the El Paso Electric is stating that they can place the lights in the blue dots. The
Okay.
green are the proposed lights that we had submitted to them.
Oh,
Then El Paso Electric comes out and says, well, no, we can't do it there, but we can do it here, right? So the blue is where El Paso Electric's saying, yes, we're able to place the lights there. The orange are the ones that are currently in existence.
Mr. Garcia was next.
What is staff's recommendation?
So if you see in that area, there is on Earnest and Jolla del Valle, there's really no lights right now, so it's extremely dark out there. The proposed lights, I think, are necessary. We've gone out there several times, and it's extremely dark. So our recommendation is to approve. However, I do know that council had stated for us to go into the LEDs. It's just super expensive to maintain them, as El Paso Electric does not maintain them at this time. And if we do LEDs and they get broken, or we can't hire an outside vendor to come and work on El Paso Electric's poles. They can't provide us a cost. They would provide us a quote once that becomes available, and we don't know what the pricing of that is at this time.
Mr. Cruz?
Yeah, so I'm counting on El Paso Electric's install location. I know the green dots were the proposed lighting locations from our staff, correct? Is that correct?
Correct, the orange ones are the ones that are currently in existence.
Yeah, but the green dots, who placed those? Our staff?
We did,
Okay,
proposed,
so
yeah.
I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. El Paso Electric came in and they're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 EPE install locations. There's 2 check marks by 2 green dots. Is that El Paso Electric's signing off on those locations as well?
Correct.
Okay.
So what they're stating is that they can put 8. If you want the HPS, it's 3,712. If we want to go with the LEDs, it's 5,048.
But why would El Paso Electric quote us on LEDs, which is a light fixture that they don't service?
I'm sorry?
How can they quote you a light fixture that they don't service or repair, is what I'm not
No,
understanding.
they will repair it. They can't just provide us a quote right now because that's not in their rotation.
Okay,
They
so,
will, if they install it and we need it repaired, we need to get a quote from them. At this point, they can't tell me what that price
okay,
is.
but we can put lights similar to what's existing right now at what price?
Not on their pole. If you want to go outside El Paso Electric, we can't, or.
No,
through
El Paso Electric lights, what do those cost? What is
So
it?
right now, they're giving you 2 quotes, right? They're giving you the HPS luminaires, right, at 3,712, Their monthly maintenance rate is $7.87. For the LEDs, it's a total of $5,048. And they're unable to give you, it says, please keep in mind that the luminaires need repair only. EP can do the repairs, and it will be at the rate of when the luminaires repair is needed. I do not know the time of the cost.
Does this item need action today?
I mean, that's
Just-
completely up to, so right now, the.
Not opposed to it, I just want to know what the budget will allow us to do right now.
Correct, so I think at that price that they're providing us, I think we're pretty safe to say, even through a budget amendment, the next time around, I'm pretty sure we can grab from somewhere else if there's not enough in street maintenance.
Ms. Villalobos?
Could I get the opinion of our chief of police? Because I know some of the problems that I've heard over and over was when they call police and they're out there, it's too dark, they can't see the number, they have to flag them down. Ambulances was another one. It was different residents that weren't even on the same street telling me the same thing. So if I could get the opinion of chief of one light versus the other light, because it's not a huge difference. And I know we don't have the cost to repair the LED light, but in the long run, I don't know if that's you know, a lot more costly or not. Or can we alter, have half and half, you know? I don't know.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dave Burton, Chief of Police. So under crime prevention through environmental design, one of the strategic plans to limit criminal activity within an area has to do with lighting. HPS is the industry standard at this point. Obviously, the LED would be at a lower cost, at an initial higher cost, but with the understanding that LEDs last a longer time with their, in their lifetime. HPS lights tend to burn out a little quicker than that. HPS is high-pressure sodium, if you need to know what that is. So, the lumens are about the same. There's a slight yellow glow to the HPS versus the bright white for the LED. Obviously, we would be in favor, as a police department, of lighting that can make our job easier. But it's not just lighting. I need to point that out. As a community, we have a hard time getting individuals to write their numbers or place their numbers on their residences. So, certainly we support the lighting initiative, but we also want to put out a message that, please put your addresses on the front of the residences, because that helps us out a lot as well. So.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Reyes?
I just got a comment. We've been trying to go with LEDs, everything we're doing. I think it would be kind of odd for us to go back to high-pressure sodium. It's $2,000 difference, más o menos. Paso Electric's gonna come back and give us the total price, right?
No, that is the total price.
Okay.
It's just if they need maintenance, then at that point, we would get a quote to see how much it would cost to repair.
Okay. And also, it's gonna waste less energy, the LED too.
I'm sorry?
The LED is gonna waste less energy.
The LED? Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
So if it breaks, we're back at square one? Because we wouldn't know when they would fix it, they wouldn't know.
No, so they'll come out and fix it. They just can't give us the price right now.
Correct.
Right? So you're kind of going into a deal saying, well, I don't know what they're going to cost me to fix it. However, at some point, the sodium lights are going to be phased out, right? I think the intent is to go LED. They just don't know when that's going to happen.
So, yes, now, is this brought by, oh no, so it's already been studied, right?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. And staff recommendation is LED?
Whatever you all wish. Yes, we're just providing you the information. But if the sodium lights are gonna eventually phase out, I would say let's go with LED. At some point, we're gonna have to make the retrofits.
Yes, I would say that.
Is there a motion?
Yes, sir. Made by Mr. Nevares, seconded by Mr. Reyes. And we have a speaker for this item?
As part of the motion, can we see what option, can we place it on what option did council select, the LEDs or and the amount?
Okay,
That's approved, so I can create the PO.
so I make a motion
Amend.
to go with the 32-watt LED for the amount of $5,048.
Second.
Joanna Roldan?
I guess I just kind of wanted to add, as I was sitting there thinking about it, I was a former El Paso Police Department police officer, not very long, not for me, so I stepped away, but you know what, like he said, lights are a big deal. That area is very dog-heavy as well, loose dogs, stray dogs, so being able to see what's around you is really helpful, but your discussion sounded great, and at the end of the day, I'm saying beggars can't be choosers, so I would love anything. I see that there's one close to my house, so that would be great. So thank you so much for taking the time to hear me out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
No. Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares?
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos?
Yes.
Moving on to presentations, item number 7, recognition of the CID section for their efforts in solving a kidnapping case, which also resulted in the seizure of 82 pounds of methamphetamine.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dave Burton, Chief of Police. As you can see, my CID present, this section is present. Oh, wait a minute, no, they're not. They're actually working. It's been a busy day for us today, so they're securing search warrant and arrest warrant affidavits as we speak. I was telling the city manager regarding CID, we did a complete rebuild of that in 2019. That's our major crimes unit, and since then, they're at a solve rate that's over 85% of all major crime in the city of Socorro. So that's excellent. This is a particular incident that points that out and the kind of work that they do. I did bring the folders in case they could come running in here, but it doesn't look like they will do that. So I'm just going to read what their citations will be. On Monday, April 4th, 2022, the Socorro Police Criminal Investigations Division, along with the Socorro Police Department patrol officers, responded to a kidnapping call for service at an address in Socorro, which involved 2 young females who were safely recovered and released to their families. The Criminal Investigations Division led the investigation, which revealed not only that 2 females had been unlawfully restrained, but also that the owner of the residence was connected to an organized Mexican drug trafficking group. Based on the information received, gathered, and built upon by the Criminal Investigation Division, which included interviews, video recordings, social media postings, photographic evidence, and a search warrant obtained and executed at the address involved in the kidnapping. As a result of the subsequent search, 82 pounds of methamphetamine were seized with a street value of approximately $410,000. Because of the work performed by the Criminal Investigation Division, a federal investigation was started, which resulted in the identification and location of high-ranking members of a Mexican drug cartel. This group was found to be conducting transporter operations, including within the city of Socorro. The additional criminal activity uncovered involved purchase and distribution of weapons and narcotics. This case stands as an example of not only the excellence in teamwork performed by the Criminal Investigation Division in successfully concluding an investigation centered in Socorro, but also the ability to work with outside agencies that included the drug enforcement agencies and the anti-gang task force, resulting in the exposure of organized criminal activity within the El Paso area. For the work performed not only on April 4th, but also the weeks following, the Socorro Criminal Investigations Division is hereby issued the Socorro Police Department Unit Citation Award to wear visibly on their uniforms as recognition of their dedication and diligence in upholding the high standards and professionalism expected of members of the Socorro Police Department. The award recipients will be Sergeant Lee Rosario, Detective Eli Valera, Investigator Ray Perez, Investigator Jimmy Dominguez, Investigator Will Roberson, Intelligence Officer Nate Dusterman, and Task Force Officer Mark Triste. Signed this day, May 10th, 2022, Chief David Burton, Socorro Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8, presentation by city manager regarding April 2022 monthly report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to provide you with some brief highlights of the month of April from our departments. Our Municipal Courts Department in April collected $119,588, received 417 citations from Socorro PD, 29 citations from DPS, 15 animal control, and 35 ordinance violations. Human Resources Department had civil service meeting on April 7th to approve 3 policy changes. We had 5 separations: Justin Martes, equipment operator; Pedro Cruz, part-time laborer; Rudy Solis, K-9 officer; Christopher Ray, LT, lieutenant from the PD department; Eunice Marquez, planning tech; and Patricia Reyes, the art coordinator. We did have 2 new hires: Ana Caro, dispatcher, and Jessica Delgado, a dispatcher. Parks and Public Works Department assisted with the Easter event. They did cleanup at Scove Road, reinstallation of school zone flasher pole at HD Hilly, and continue with the systematic approach for weed control and maintenance for all parks. Our police department received 3,452 calls for service. Officers continue to attend trainings to keep them in compliance with certification for TCOL requirements. Our city clerk department prepared agendas and minutes for April 7th and 21st, received 51 open records requests, responded to 47. Our planning and zoning department collected $107,364, issued 306 permits, 113 registrations, 7 applications, and 96 letters. Our code enforcement issued 118 notice of violations, 99 of them cleared, issued 35 citations. Our animal control received 198 calls for service, 30 impounds, and 15 citations were issued. Our recreations department had their color run and Easter extravaganza, had a vaccine drive, 65 senior welfare calls, 840 senior meals were delivered, worked on the application and contract for the state HAF program. There was no HLC meeting, and kept up with all social media platforms. Our IT department assisted with all city council and commission meetings and troubleshooted all IT-related issues for all city departments. Our grant department for April launched the ESBRA Small Business Assistance Program available to Socorro small businesses, held the Community Initiative nonprofit meeting, prepared and submitted first ARPA report to the U.S. Treasury reporting $129,000 in expenditures across 22 projects, grants, and special projects. Prepared grant files for fiscal year 2021, audits and single audit responded to queries from external auditors on various grant contracts. Our city auditor finalized review of bank reconciliation and journal entries for the month of March 2022, review bank reconciliations and journal entries for April 2022, and continue with the review and submittal of invoices for Dannenbaum Engineering. And that recaps our department highlights. I don't know if you all have any questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 9, presentation by El Paso Marathon in appreciation to the city of Socorro for their sponsorship, participation, and event.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Here with us today are some of the administration members for the El Paso Marathon who would like to thank the city for being a participant as well as a co-host for this year's marathon.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. We appreciate you having us in your great community once again. We wanted to take time to thank you all and just kind of give you a recap of this year's event. Again, our marathon was held on February 13th, 2022. Our foundation is proud to promote health and fitness in the community and to bring tourism to the region of El Paso and provide support to local and national nonprofit organizations. And to date, we've provided over $350,000 to local nonprofits in the 17 years that we've been in existence. For year 2022, we awarded $3,500 to 3 local nonprofits that manned water stations for us. We have a competition of the 17 water stations that we have that service our runners. And one of those stations, unfortunately, they didn't win, but they participated, and that was headed up by our Mr. Victor Reta. And they worked the station down there at the mission, and people just had a great time. He's got some great photos of it. But the organizations that did win were Run El Paso and Ayuda Inc. Ayuda Inc. is an organization that operates and services the community in San Eli, and they had folklorico dancers and mariachis, and so the competition was stiff there. Anyway, we certainly appreciate Victor's work. In addition to that, I don't know if you all were aware of it or not, but Victor and his staff, they came out and manned our registration table at the expo. They worked from 11 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So every person that came in to pick up their information were greeted by Socorro staff, and they had picture opportunities and everything. So great support, and we can't say enough about Victor and what he did for us this year. So we'll stop now and we've got something for Victor special. Very much deserved. And to recap our donations this year, we gave $20,000 to 4 different organizations, and that was the Boys and Girls Club of El Pasoans Fighting Hunger, the Liam Beulah Moore Children's Home, and the Rio Grande Cancer Foundation. In addition to that, we gave all of our participants an opportunity to make additional donations to these nonprofits, and ended up at the end of the day that each one of those 4 took home an extra $1,000. So again, our mission is to improve the lives of the people in this community. We'll just give you some idea of how we did this year. This 2022, our total numbers were 3,056. 2021, our total numbers were 1,591. Wow. So we increased by almost 100%. When we go back and look at our biggest year, that was 2020, our biggest year was 3,952. So we were almost there. In December, we were tracking to exceed that number. But then what happened in January? Omicron. So everything backed off a little bit. Those numbers that we're talking about represents 434 hotel nights. And that's always music to everybody's ears, right? And so, again, we want to improve those numbers. We had participants from over 30 states, as far away as Hawaii. We had 6 countries registered. We had Germany, Canada, of course, Mexico, Norway, Singapore, and the last one is, because my mind is gone. So anyway, we had 116 teams representing 970 members, and the largest team was the district, that's the Ysleta Independent School District. They had 313 members. So the challenge is out there for anybody that wants to put together a big team. With the opportunities that we've recognized, that we've identified, is to increase the excitement that is generated along the route. So we want to explore all the opportunities that we can in all of the different communities that we pass through. That's San Eli, of course, Socorro, Ysleta, and then the area around Escarate. So we hope to be talking to you all individually and getting any ideas that you may have, how we can improve the event and how we work with you and what we present to our runners. So again, we thank you, and we have this plaque of appreciation for City Council
Thank you.
And it reads, presented by the El Paso Marathon Foundation to City of Socorro in appreciation of your outstanding support to the 2022 Michelob Ultra El Paso Marathon, TFCU Half Marathon, and the Viva Transportation 5K. So again, we thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Victor, you too.
If I could, one last comment. I'd be remiss, the sponsorship that it takes to pull an event like this off. And one of those sponsors is about to walk out the door. That's Elite Medical. They provide ambulance coverage for the 26.2 miles to make sure that our runners have an opportunity, should they need coverage. They've been with us, I guess, for 10 years.
And we thank you for that. Thank you, sir.
Can we use scooters, bikes?
I did the
I'm saying for myself. I hope next time I'm actually running. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
from Del Sol. Back in the day.
Oh, you know, one thing.
My wife did the full marathon. In 4 hours and 33 minutes. She's a beast. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Moving on to consent agenda.
Motion to consent agenda.
Second?
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia,
Aye.
Rudy Cruz is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Grants Department, item number 14, discussion and action to approve a letter of support for Project Vita Community Development Corporations to Small Business Administration Prime Grant for the Microenterprise Technical Assistance Program. All related agenda items, summary sheets, and backup documents are attached.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Alejandra Valadez, City Development Director. We're here requesting your approval for a letter of support for Project Vida Community Development Corporation. As you recall, we have requested your approval to enter into an MOU with Project Vida to bring small business support programs here to Socorro businesses. They are submitting a grant application to the Small Business Administration Prime Grant. If they receive this award, they will be providing training, technical assistance, and guidance to disadvantaged microenterprises in Socorro and all other areas of the county as well.
Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Recreation Department, item number 15, discussion and action to approve a budget for the Adult Socorro Athletic League to generate revenue for youth programming.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Previously, as Council may remember, we have been discussing organizing and coordinating an adult athletic league to go ahead and generate revenue in order to cover the expenses for a youth athletic league. Here before you, what I need direction on is the budget regarding this athletic league that you'd like to inquire about. Currently, the plan was to use Cougar Park. There are two budgets that are being presented in front of you. Go ahead and share the first one. This is the first operating budget that does have park improvements. Can you zoom in a little? Zoom in. Some of the park improvements which are presented here in this budget would include things such as fencing, dugouts, bleachers, audio and visual equipment, as well as a scoreboard. And then it has your everyday or every game supplies such as chalk, baseballs. It also includes a budget for staff to actually operate the leagues for the softball leagues. And it does include things such as outreach and community involvement, which is very minimal. The budget is broken down. This one with park improvements is $88,650. And then can you go to the other section? And then the one without park improvements would be $27,650. So it's a difference about $40,000. One of the things that I do want to note to council is that while we are aware that Cougar Park's baseball, softball field is in need of major repairs, we will be discussing the capital as well as the regular operations and maintenance budget soon. So this is just an idea to present the very minimal things that that park does need in order to host events such as the adult softball. And the Parks and Public Works Director is also here, so he can provide feedback in case I step on his toes.
Do we have questions?
Motion to approve.
We have, Mr. Nevares, we have a motion.
Oh, that's right.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
I have a question. Did the motion say which budget they wanted to go with?
There's two budgets, 27 and
Right.
in some cases.
Yeah.
That's right.
Would you like to amend your motion?
Will amend my motion to approve the $88,650.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz,
Yes.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 16, discussion and action regarding municipal advertising and electronic billboards.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Previously, we had discussed a marketing and outreach plan to kind of discuss how we could get the word out either for city initiatives, promotions, public notices, things of that nature. I did speak to Clear Channel, and they actually have a really great program. If we utilize city property, they will install the equipment, and they will own and operate and maintain the equipment with no cost to the city. However, the city doesn't have a lot of property on our major arterials, as you're aware. So we really did some out-of-the-box thinking, and there are two proposals that I wanted to share with council. One of them would be to utilize our land that we do own that are on major arterials, such as North Loop and Horizon. We can put one there. And then also look at what we own on Socorro roads, such as Cougar Park. Another avenue was maybe speaking to the Tiguas to see if they would allow some area on Socorro Road at Tiwa There is a huge clearing with not a lot of buildings. That's a great area to go ahead and put a billboard there as well. The second one would be, we would have to make some kind of investment into some other signs where we own property. One of which I recommended would be kind of like a welcome to Socorro, farewell to Socorro idea. Can you put that back up? I do want to also mention that the prices that we're quoting you are actually from the buy board. Go ahead and go to the next one.
I'm sorry, from what?
The buy board. So the buy board is some of our financial avenues that we're able to utilize to go ahead and make sure that we get the lowest price quoted to us possible through mechanisms that other government entities use, such as ESC 19, Region 19, I'm sorry, as well as the Texas Co-op. This is which they're on Stewart signs. This is an example of what the sign would look like, one of which I presented different options, because obviously with different sizes, you're gonna go with different budgets. What I would need direction from council on is to direct what avenue they'd want to pursue, if they would like to discuss operating with Clear Channel, and for us to move forward with that on our city-owned property. And then if we were to make an investment, at which locations would we be looking at and what size? Go to the next one.
Mr. Garcia?
What does the staff recommend, and yeah, what's
So obviously, we would love to go ahead and work with Clear Channel since there is no cost to us, and we have a fairly good working relationship with them. There's a lot of opportunity to not only market ourselves, but also utilize our resources. We are limited in terms of a budget, so that would be the most budget-friendly way to go ahead and make the most impact and leverage what financial resources we do have to the highest impact areas, such as Nuevo Hueco North Loop, for example, and something along Alameda. One of the avenues which I was proposing to see is if we could work with the WID to maybe put some signage, LED signage above one of the canals, maybe on Alameda and Nevares. That would be a great area. That's something that we could visit. But those would be the two ones that I'm suggesting for purchase. The other ones would be working with Clear Channel at no price to the city.
so moved?
I would need to, so this is the largest sign that they have available. Can you zoom in a little bit, Esteban?
That big says whether
And council has the availability to change the exact design. There's other cities that don't use rock, they use wood. You can change the color, the fonts. The city would recommend, or staff would recommend that whatever the wording be, that it's illuminated for nighttime traffic. Go ahead and scroll down all the way to the bottom.
33.7.
Just to give you an idea, the largest sign they produce is about $266,000, so. But that's huge. Scroll up a little bit.
Mr. Garcia, you didn't specify which one? Clear Channel or?
I said I would say the Clear Channel one, so that's no cost to the city.
And location?
Socorro Road, North Loop and Horizon, Nuevo Hueco Tanks,
Those are the only ones.
Okay.
Alameda would be the one that we would have to purchase.
and then the outside the box ones as well, like Kruger Park.
What staff can also do, if that would maybe alleviate some confusion, is go ahead and come back once we've met with Clear Channel to let them see, yes, we can put them here, no, we can't put them here. And then also talk to the WID to see if they would allow us access to put the one specifically on the canal over Nevares and Alameda. And then actually do a measurement to get you a final quote on what that signage would look like, if that would help.
Yes, please. That.
Ms. Villalobos?
Victor, is there anything that we're restricted on putting on there? Did they say? Is it just for Socorro, or other entities can plug into it from other cities?
That would be between Clear Channel and the other city. I didn't advocate for other cities. With us, they're really great working relationships. As some of you may know that were on council before, our Census 2020 campaign was a really great hit, and we did utilize not only the digital billboards, but also the physical ones as well. So they're relatively familiar with the kind of campaigns we run, and there was no concern on the content, if that was the question.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Cruz?
So is the motion right now to decide which route we're gonna take as far as going with Clear Channel or direct funding it? Is that the only motion? And are we also picking a location or various locations?
So what staff recommended was to give me direction to allow to speak to Clear Channel, to recommend what we own, and then allow me to work with the WID to see if they would even allow us to put one over the canal, and then letting you know what the exact price would be for the sizes that would go over the canal and at the locations. If council would like to direct me a specific location, that would be very helpful.
So just to make it clear, when you say it's at no cost to the city, that's dependent on any design we choose.
So for Clear Channel, they would choose a design. Clear
Oh, see-
Channel would put their own equipment, their own software. We wouldn't have any hand in maintaining it or repairing it. We would just be able to upload our software or our campaigns on their
So-
equipment.
Right, so aesthetically speaking, the design, do we have any?
Not
city-
for Clear Channel.
Okay, so that's the only problem that I would have placing it on the Mission Trail, to come in and bring something so modernized.
Well, they would have to still abide by the ordinance, though.
Well,
So-
okay, that's,
Yeah.
okay, so the Mission drives the design on Socorro Road.
Correct.
We
The
know that,
ordinance-
and we agree with all that. I'm under the impression, right? So if Clear Channel was to come in and we do decide to place it on the Mission Trail, I would definitely let Clear Channel know, hey, we want to keep it within these parameters here, and we don't want to, go too modern. Now, East Lake, by all means, that's commercial. You got the new restaurants up the road. I think that right there, that would work really, really well. But when we're talking about the historic district, let's just consider the design there.
No, I would be doing a disservice as the HPO if I didn't enforce that.
Anyone else?
Was there a specific location council wanted to observe that I maybe didn't mention?
Well, I do like the Mission Trail, North Loop and Horizon, and Nuevo Hueco Tanks and North Loop.
I also mentioned Alameda and Nevares for the canal.
I just don't see that one. How?
So there is a walkway on Nevares and Alameda, and what some other cities have done is they've installed digital billboards in between the chain link fence and adding another barrier with scrolling information. It's an electronic billboard that would be done there, if and only if WAD would allow us to work over their property.
Okay. I don't see it. See it. I need pictures.
We need pictures.
If directed, staff would come back with a mock-up before you
Yes.
before the city spends any money.
Let's do that. 'Cause
So, who made a motion?
I did.
Would you like to amend your motion to add that they, or to, for them? Right.
I make amendment motion to write a mock-up before we make any decisions on all signs going up in the city of Socorro by Clear Channel.
And suggested locations. Yes.
Mr. Nevares, so you second that?
Yes, ma'am.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia,
Aye.
Rudy Cruz,
Yes.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 17, discussion and action to approve a letter for support to Casa Ortiz for an educational and cultural visa application to participate in the October 2022 Indigenous event.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We were approached by some artists that work out of Casa Ortiz to go ahead and maybe assist them in getting some visitors from an indigenous tribe in Mexico to come visit Socorro and provide not only education on their art, culture, and humanities, but possibly work with them to actually publicize the event. It is a free event that would be in the city of Socorro. That would be something very rare. They were going to invite some of the governing members of the tribe, as well as bring some artists to the city of Socorro. The exhibit is planned for a month long. Originally, it was scheduled to be in October. However, I just received the approval for us to have a TEDx conference in Socorro. So we would look at the possibility of having them be a part of our TEDx conference in September. Pablo is here, who was the gentleman that reached out to the city, so I'd like to invite him to the podium to speak a little more on the item.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pablo Hernandez. I work at Casa Ortiz. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that gallery. You know, we exhibit a lot of local art, but first and foremost, I consider it more of a cultural center, you know, for youth, for artists. So I have some friends in Mexico of Wixárika tribe, which are known as Huichol incorrectly. They prefer to be called Wixárika. And I think it would be a very good experience to bring them over, have them speak a little bit about their culture, bring some musicians, show their art. They have very beautiful art that they make with beads and yarn. So I was talking to an immigration lawyer, actually, who was helping me out with, you know, doing everything right, doing everything legally. So what I would be requesting is just a letter of invitation to bring them over. At the moment, you know, you used to be able to travel with just getting a visitor visa, but since the beginning of the pandemic, they're a little held up, so there's about a 2-year wait. So something that we can do to expedite that is if we can get a nonprofit organization or the city to invite them personally. Haven't had a lot of luck with finding a nonprofit that is interested in bringing them, so I'm here requesting just a simple letter of invitation. The gallery would take care of, you know, the Airbnb and food. We would be hosting them, so it would be at no cost to the city. And that's really all I'm requesting.
Mr. Cruz?
My question is going to be directed towards our attorney for the support letter to allow these individuals to come and visit our city. Would the city be responsible for having to meet at the border and transport, or this is just all new to me, Mr. Martinez?
I mean, I think you have some options with respect to the logistics. To answer your question directly, no. I mean, the city is not, you're not limited to meeting them at the border and then escorting them, but obviously their presence in the country needs to otherwise comply with federal law. And whether or not the city is with them, I don't think that's going to influence that.
Thank you.
Ms. Villalobos?
So the item says discussion and action to approve a letter, and then at the bottom it says a support letter. This is a letter that would come from your firm, Mr. Martinez? The supporting letter?
We could certainly draft it. My suggestion would be that it should come from the mayor or the city manager.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion. Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia,
Aye.
Rudy Cruz,
Yes.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Salud.
Item number 18, discussion and action regarding the purchase of a city concession stand for the Socorro Athletic League and other city events in the amount of $9,400 for tent and $1,750 for equipment to generate funds for the youth athletic program.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Previously, when we were discussing the Socorro Athletic League and moving forward for any event that could possibly generate revenue for the youth program, it was suggested that we open up a snack shop that could tend to the games here in Socorro. This is a pop-up concession stand which has a countertop. It's a pop-up tent with 4 walls. It would be something that could be easily movable and serve to address the needs of the public. We would do something small. We're in contact and in compliance with our health department, so we know what we can and can't do with our own license that we currently have. There's a lot of different avenues on what the city can and can't do. Currently, we do small things such as snow cones, popcorns, canned sodas, anything that's already bagged is easily resellable. And we also have a hot dog steamer as well as a cotton candy maker. Typically, those things are used in the recreation department for our senior citizens and our youth camps, but that's something that can also be easily done with this concession stand at Well if council does want to pursue that avenue. I wanted to show you a price point of what something would look like with the additions and all the entails of what the product would look like and get feedback from council in order to best move accordingly.
Ms. Villalobos, you had a question?
Yes. So Victor, obviously it wouldn't say cold brew beer. or
Yeah,
anything
no.
like that. So it would be our our logo?
It would have
and-
our logo and our branding.
And it would say concession stand, or what would it?
So yeah, we could put concession stand. Similarly, you've kind of seen the artwork that we've done on the other tents. It would match that. We'd make sure it has our logo, it's easily readable and easily identifiable. In the future, we'd hope that our events get much traction, so that way if we're at a farmer's market or we're at an upcoming Socorro Sundays, you would easily be able to identify what's the City of Socorro tent. This is something that we could also maybe use in our economic development platform to rent out to a new business. That's something that we've been kind of discussing in terms of a think tank on how to support our small businesses. This could be something that could be used as a tool if it's needed in the future, but this would also address the needs immediately, and it's not something that's permanent in ground. I know in the future planning of Cougar Park, they do want to include a concession stand as well as update the bathrooms. I don't think we were there yet with our budget. However, this would address those concerns if council felt that that was the route they wanted to go.
Thank you, Victor.
Yeah, we did.
You did?
We approved it.
Oh, no, no. Did you have a question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought I heard you.
No.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes. Police Department, item number 19, discussion and action to approve and award bid 22-05 for 4 radio dispatch emergency communication consoles for the Police Department to Advance Communications in the amount of $249,735.14.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. David Burton, Chief of Police. So actually, this is a timely subject because as of yesterday, our last communication console stopped working. And RTC, who's our provider in the area, cannot service it because it's too old. So we're having to nurse our communications until we can get the replacement for them. This funding would come out of our ARPA grant, which is permissible for public safety and improving our emergency response to any pandemic, including COVID. It would move the dispatch center to the location on Moon Road, and that would vacate Puna for then later development. This amount was $249,000. Because of that, we did go out to bid. The one company that you see on the paperwork in front of you is the only respondent that we got as far as doing this project for us. I'll take any questions.
Motion to approve?
I have one question. Sorry.
One moment. Mr. Cruz?
Chief, just to be clear, your budget currently supports the funding?
ARPA grants support the funding, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
But for this year, to
I
make
believe
this...
that we have the ARPA, go ahead.
Yes, sir, we have allocated funding for his communication
Okay.
dispatching.
All right, because we just...
Correct, so-
We're up to 100,000 almost here.
Correct, so the ARPA funds were actually structured and approved by council, and right now we have to follow our procurement process, so that's why we had to go out to bid. Right now, we're just trying to award it and say, this is the purchase that we're going to make sure that we follow all of our procurement procedures.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes. Item number 20, discussion and action to approve and award bid 22-06 for remodeling of the communications building for the police department to Holguin Construction Specialties LLC in the amount of $118,500.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Again, Dave Burton, Chief of Police. This item is tied to the one before that. Obviously, we have to have a location to put the 4 consoles into. We did appropriate the buildings from surplus, government surplus, but they do need to be rehabbed to make them more conducive to operations for the police department. One of those is soundproofing. The soundproofing would go into the communications center, which is about half of the building, and then the other half of the building would be a training facility for us, a classroom where we could host not only our own training if we chose, but also regional training with our partners. Again, because of the amount, we did go out to bid on this, and Holguin Construction was the only respondent on the bid. And again, it would come from ARPA funding, which is permissible because it's a public safety building.
I'm
Motion.
sorry. I apologize. Ms. Villalobos? I'm sorry. I didn't hear that last part, sir.
So this would be ARPA funding once again?
Okay. I thought you said the opposite, sir. Thank
No,
you.
it would be
Okay.
And just to remind council, we did receive more than $7 million in ARPA funding. So there's,
Let's
we-
use it up. Do we have?
I can spend that. Oh.
Ms. Villalobos?
On that ARPA, do we have 24 months, 12 months to use it up, 10 years?
we have till 2026 to use it, but it has to be accounted for by 2024. In other words, by 2024, we need to have what we're going to spend our funds on.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Yes,
Motion
we,
to
we,
approve.
we already have a plan.
Second.
Who made the motion?
I did, Alex.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 21, discussion and action to approve the annual LESO Law Enforcement Support Office contract and to authorize the mayor and chief of police to execute contract.
Motion to approve.
Second.
One more item for me. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dave Burton again with Police Department. So every year we have to have this approved by council. This is the government surplus location for us that we can go to. So far, we've managed to appropriate 2 sets of buildings with that account. One of them got transported from the East Coast, and then the other one we were fortunate enough to pick up from Fort Bliss. So where we're actually moving our dispatch center into was the Fort Bliss appropriation. But that's only possible if we sign this contract. We'll take questions.
Any questions?
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
City Manager, item number 22, discussion and action to approve staff to assist Lower Valley Water District on paving Alarcon Road and invoicing Lower Valley Water District for all the cost.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So, good evening, Mayor and Council. We were approached by Julio Dominguez, supervisor at Lower Valley Water District, to assist them in a paving project on Alarcon Road. The reason it's coming to this council, it's not in our jurisdiction, it's actually in San Elizario. We did provide them a quote of how long it would, how much it would cost, and it's, the total amount is $7,295 if we use the standby, the asphalt that is on standby. So what we would do is conduct the work, and then we would invoice Lower Valley Water District for that amount. I do want to show a Google map so you can see where Alarcon Road is. So that is in San Elizario, just in case you see the crew out there. You know what they're working on. Do y'all have any questions?
I'm gonna
Mr. Reyes?
So we'll do, well, the city, we'll do the asphalt, and we just leave it. We don't have to come back to fix anything, no
Correct.
maintenance.
So
Nothing.
right now, they've done some infrastructure in there, and they don't have the paving capabilities, so they're asking assistance from the city of Socorro to assist them with the paving. So once we pave, we're done. If they do need it in the future, they would have to come back and request that.
But as far as, like, maintenance on that part
No,
where
sir.
we're paving? No, okay.
So once they pay us, that asphalt is no longer ours.
And they would have to provide whatever maintenance.
And they would have to pay us to redo it again, if they were to ask.
If
Correct.
need be.
Yes, it would have to go through.
When would this take place? Do we have a time set?
No, so we get the approval, we send out an email tomorrow, and then between Public Works and Mr. Dominguez, they would coordinate what's the best time. We also have to take in consideration now the weather. If it's too high, they're not gonna be able to pave, so they have to coordinate. I wouldn't be able to, but I mean, it should be, so I know that this project needs to happen like yesterday, but we had to wait for this meeting just because it was outside of our jurisdiction. So I'm assuming within the next 2 weeks, they should have it completed. I can send an email to council letting them know exactly the date.
Mr. Cruz?
So the work that's gonna be conducted using our services, and I know there's gonna be reimbursement, but it's happening in another city, right? It's in San Elizario.
Correct, that is correct, and because we're both different entities and their utilities assisting residents, we're able to do that through like an interlocal agreement.
Right, okay, so just so long as we have some language stating there that we're not gonna be responsible after the paving is done, I don't want the city of San Elizario, I know we have a good relationship right now, but I do not need another municipality or Lower Valley Water coming back saying that the work was done incorrectly. I think there should be some type of language down, you're basically entering some type of contractual agreement with, when there's payment involved.
Correct, so if that's the case, then we would have to go back and draft an MOU, a mutual, before we proceed. So we can draft something and bring it back. And that would put the project on hold until that happens.
Ms. Villalobos?
So that brings a good question. What does the MOU state right now with
We don't
us?
have an MOU with.
We don't?
No.
Okay.
No, and normally when we do, we assist them with paving cuts, it's within our jurisdiction, and that's because they can't get to it on time. So we take care of our own streets and then we invoice them. We've never really gotten out of our jurisdiction.
Did they say how fast they needed this?
I'm sorry?
Like yesterday, right, is what they're saying?
Correct.
It's ready to be paved.
That is correct.
Mr. Cruz brings a very good point.
I agree.
Let me just make one last comment. So I think that tonight the council can go ahead and approve, okay, we can approve the work to be done. I don't think that anyone is opposed to helping out in the way that we're wanting to help out. I just think that once approved, let's place that language there, whether it's through MOU or it's through a simple disclaimer on the document. Jim, how do you feel?
I certainly understand council's concern because it is out of the jurisdiction. I will tell you, it's not unheard of for larger municipalities to provide sundry services to other municipalities, smaller municipalities that surround them. I think the city of Socorro still gets, health services from the city of El Paso's health department, basically on a contractual basis. So conceptually, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not an everyday event. If the council is going to do it, Mr. Cruz, to address your concern, I would suggest authorizing the city manager to negotiate and enter into an interlocal agreement or an MOU. And we could certainly draft one and include that kind of language in it that says, no warranty, no guarantees, as is, where is, and it's just a one-time service and then we're done.
So then, Jim, can this council motion tonight to agree to the terms and have the city manager engage into an MOU? Can we motion all that here and amend the language on the current agenda item?
I think you can. One question I had for Ms. Rodarte is, do we know the price, or is it a per unit price?
I'm sorry, sir?
The price, is it a per unit price, or is it just a flat fee?
No, so the price consists of the labors, the equipment, the fuel, the tack oil, the asphalt. Mr. Rita's pulling up the quote that we provided them with.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, and if that's the number, I would suggest that the motion should be approving that. To address Mr. Cruz's concern, if council wishes to approve it, I would suggest moving to approve the matter in that amount and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute an MOU or an interlocal agreement in that amount with the Lower Valley Water District and possibly with San Lisario as well.
I'd like to amend my motion to designate our city manager to either have an MOU or interlocal agreement with Sanelli with the price for
And it's with the Lower Valley Water District?
Lower Valley Water District, I'm sorry.
Mayor, I have a question for Jim. Jim, will the MOU limit us just to this project?
The MOU itself won't limit you. I mean, the MOU will be for this project. If you wanted to draft an MOU or an interlocal agreement for general purposes, sort of a standing kind of on-call agreement or on-call arrangement, we can do that, but I think you'd need to post it differently.
Correct, and I think my only concern with that is that we are short-staffed. And at some point, Lower Valley Water District needs to provide these services, especially if they have tons of ARPA funding that they've received for infrastructure, for water infrastructure and sewer connections. So I would just make you all aware that if we do an MOU, how often are you wanting to assist this entity?
Mayor, Minister Cruz?
Thank you, Mayor. I think that we can kill two birds with one stone. We can have an open-ended MOU. I know that your concern is the on-call and then using up our resources here with the city, right? I get that, but it's going to be a case by case, because if this council decides, well, we want to establish an MOU annually, and it never gets used other than this one time this year for the remainder of the year, then we'll have to come back again the next year and establish it again or renew it again. I get that, but I think we can establish some type of MOU. In our jurisdiction right now, the city manager has up to $25,000, discretionary funding for special projects like this or emergencies, right? But taking the special project that it is and it's outside of our jurisdiction, that's the only reason why it's being brought to this council right now. I think that the MOU to be established with Lower Valley Water should be placed as a different agenda item on another meeting, stating that language as to how we want to go about it.
So do you want to execute the MOU before we do the paving, or we're going to do the paving and create the MOU afterwards?
I would like, okay, for purposes of this project here, because I know it's time sensitive, I would go ahead and execute the agreement today with the direction of council to establish the MOU with Lower Valley for future projects, if that makes sense. Does that?
Well, let me interrupt. I mean, that needs to be brought back for the future. I mean, we need that needs a separate posting item. For this item, this one project on Alarcon Road, we can certainly draft an MOU or an interlocal agreement along the lines of what you've described.
Jim, you can probably draft it right now within the next 10 minutes here and have it in Adriana's email by the end of the night.
It might take 20.
Okay. So what Mr. Martinez is saying,
That he's drafting it as we speak.
This is a separate MOU for this specific project that we would need to go ahead and.
Yes.
Ms. Villalobos?
May I suggest also that we do a general one? Because I think we're going to have, in the future, even if we use it once or twice, it's already there. We don't have to go back and, to the attorney, and then bring it here for approval.
Yes, and I think the general one is great. It's just when we're leaving our jurisdiction and we're using our staff for days in a different entity when there's a lot of work to do on this entity, right? So that's where I just want to make council aware, we create a template, right, just to be specific of how many times we can exercise that.
So should we include the general one as well?
So I think that for right now, for this item, we're going to create one for this item,
Okay, and then
and
come
then
back.
we will come back with a general one.
Gotcha, thank you.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Aye.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes. Mayor and council, item number 23, update on the replacement of all the 2009 Texas State Champion Socorro High School baseball signs due to age and damage.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's an update.
Oh, it's an update. It's an update.
Oh, yeah.
So, good evening, Mayor and Council. Mr. Garcia had asked to place the item on the agenda so staff can give them an update regarding this agenda item. So the signs that we're mentioning today fall into the City Pride Sign Program. The program provides cities the opportunity to place signs like the ones we're mentioning on TxDOT's right-of-way with an active municipal maintenance agreement, and an agreement of the placement of the display as well as the construction and maintenance requirements. TxDOT does not fabricate these types of signs, so the City of Socorro would be responsible for the designing and procuring the signs. They did provide a link. Below are the attached references for the TxDOT will be requesting. They don't have a currently municipal maintenance agreement on hand. Mr. Gallinar is working right now in creating that agreement and bringing it to council so we can approve it, and also working on the design of the new signs.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Item number 25, discussion and action to direct staff to amend the neighborhood traffic management program criteria to better fit our city's needs.
So, I'm sorry, Mayor. This is,
Introduction?
yes.
Do we need a motion? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve for discussion?
Second.
Ms. Villalobos?
Okay. So, in a couple of meetings back, we had discussed with Mr. Gallina and Mrs. Rodarte regarding the rules and regulations that we have right now under NTMP, which was, if you guys recall, Villa del Mar was the subject at that point. And in order for them to receive the residents were requesting speed humps, signs, et cetera, but they needed to dock at least 500 cars, I believe, Mr. Gallinar, during daily, in order for them to even be considered any of these items that they were requesting. And so we discussed that maybe we should bring back this item in the form of revisiting the neighborhood traffic management program and changing the rules and regulation or the requirements. Did I get that? Okay. Because most of our streets would not qualify under the rules and regulations that they have right now.
So in the conversation with Ms. Colombia Lobos, it's more of if staff can go back and see if we can make any changes that would assist the residents to get these type of calming devices in different areas. So we can definitely go back and then we can provide a recommendation from our staff. I think they're ready to give a recommendation, but we can go back and really look at it.
Okay.
Okay. Would you like to amend your motion? Who made the motion?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Okay, do we have anything on items 27 through 29?
No, ma'am.
No?
Motion to delete items 27 to 29?
Second?
Was Jim gonna say something?
So we can,
No, we don't have anything.
Oh, it's because I heard. Yeah, no, that's right,
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Yes.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Meeting adjourns at 7:33 PM. Thank you.
Night, everyone.
Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Aye.
Goodbye.